take me into
Nice,
into
man.
your journey. What's got you into the work you do? Because to be honest, it's the same every single guest. Like there's always a reason people do the work they do, the reason they love the work they do. So what is your
Yeah.
sort of context that we need to be aware of?
Yeah. Thanks, man. So look, I would say I was lucky growing up. I think had a pretty grounded, calm, happy upbringing, and I think I always had a pretty calm disposition. So I'm super grateful for that. Um, Beautiful combo of my mum being ultra caring and ultra protective. And maybe a bit of overthinking stuff kind of comes in from that side. I'm probably thinking about how other people are going a lot of the time. Um, but it was kind of balanced out by dad's kind of she'll be right,
Yeah.
happy go lucky attitude. So it created quite a nice calm balance. I didn't have any huge trauma, to be honest. I was going quite well. And then I think, mum and dad separated. That was pretty painful. I think they had a beautiful, there was an incredible love there, but I think they had a bit of a classic couldn't live with each other, couldn't live without each other kind of thing. Um, and I just found from a pretty young age, early teens, I was starting to hold down a little bit of a role of being there for them. So that probably came with a bit of a heaviness, um, and also an interest in well-being. In feeling like, okay, I'm feeling good, but there's people very close around me who are having a hard time. So I'm going to be there for them. But it probably lit up a bit of a passion in wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness. My older brother Stu, who's a beautiful yoga teacher, he was going through some bits as well, and then he found yoga and found a lot of comfort in the philosophy and the wisdom of yoga, and he went all the way in. He went real deep, did all his practice and learnings in India, and kind of came back a fully fledged yogi, in a big way, and he was the older brother, so I was kind of just following suit. So then yoga was beautiful, and I found yoga to be really powerful for me. I For some reason I did have an anxiety. I don't know where it came from initially, but I was always like petrified of public speaking. Like even in this setting, I think I would have trouble
Mhm.
controlling my anxiety. I'd have trouble staying in flow. Voice would start getting very, very shaky, and I'd forget how to breathe, and I feel like I'm going to kind of pass out. So I got a bit of a glimpse into anxiety and panic attacks and things like that. So that kind of plagued me actually all through high school. So I had this kind of contradiction because I was really confident and I loved sport and I was quite good at sport. Um, Yet put me in front of a couple of people to tell a story or something, and I'd kind of fall to pieces, which was a shame. And I had no control over it, and that really plagued me and plagued me into university when we had to do talks, and I was confident enough just to go, nah, fuck yeah, I'm not doing it, and I just wouldn't even do it. And I would speak back to the teacher or whatever. I'm not doing it. So whatever, just give me that. But I just ran away from it and ran away from it, um, which was not conquering it at all, and it just, the monkey on my back just kind of turned into a big gorilla. But actually, through the philosophy of yoga, I think I remember like a flashbulb moment. Stu was doing a beach yoga session, and we were in this pigeon pose, like deep glute stretch, and it was so uncomfortable. And I could feel my whole body tensing up and in pain. And then Stu just kind of started touching on, just notice the tension in your body and notice if you're actually resisting the sensations going on. And also notice the quality of your breath in this moment. What's happening with your mind, the quality of your thoughts in this moment. And I'm like, I am making this so much worse for myself by focusing on the pain, by thinking, how long is it going to go for? This is terrible. This is a horrible situation. And then when I was able to come back to the breath, come back to the sounds of the ocean, notice that I was actually resisting the sensation. kind of let go of it all and relax into the experience, and just like, oh, and that everything just melted away. And I was actually like, this isn't so bad at all. And the tension left, and I could sink so much deeper into the stretch. And it just kind of flashbulbed in my brain of going, I'm making this situation so much worse with the public speaking thing. The fear of embarrassment, the fear of not being fucking perfect, whatever. Um, I'm creating that uncomfortable experience, and as I started to learn more about the body through physio studies, learn more about the breath and the science of the nervous system and stuff, I was just able to kind of conquer it basically, and realize that my mind was being quite irrational by having this huge fear of just simply talking in front of people. I started to realize that most people are compassionate and most people are lovely, and if I'm up there struggling my way through a talk, they're probably not going to ostracize me from the community or anything like that, and just relax into it. And I started to really enjoy it, and that novelty hasn't worn off. I now look for opportunities to get in front of people and to talk, because I started to learn that I kind of had something to say, and it was such a shame to have that as a barrier to me doing it. So it's my passion for it just really started to amplify, and then through physio, working with people in pain, similar principles started to apply, that if someone's in pain, they're focusing on it. Where attention goes, energy flows. It creates this big painful experience, and really starts to run their life. So I just found I had a few tools that were quite helpful for people in exploring some of these things. So the yoga philosophy kind of formed the foundation of how I was working with people in a one-on-one kind of physio setting. And then I started teaching movement and teaching classes and teaching breath work. And I just love helping people to feel a little bit more calm and a little bit more relaxed, because it's such a better way to move through things and such a better way to be. So that never wears off. That passion is strong as ever, and just continuing to get stronger. So I think that explains it a little bit. In terms of other things, we all go through heartache, and we have difficulty. I think probably early twenties, I was having difficulty in relationships, having difficulty kind of navigating the way I was thinking, the way I was feeling. What did my soul want? I had a bit of trouble navigating that, and perhaps some people got hurt along the way, and I just knew I needed to understand myself better, because I didn't want patterns to keep repeating themselves. Um, so the journey about learning about myself kind of continued, and I just kind of went deeper and deeper, um, until I was able to start to understand, that I was doing things in a way that I wasn't super proud of and super happy about, and I was able to change behaviors, and then start showing up in a way that I am really proud of. So, yeah, just my own little journey, but nothing like no major traumas early on. Yeah.
I honestly feel like there's this paradox of pain where, like, when you focus on the pain, right, it amplifies it. But then paradoxically, it's the feedback. And if we don't listen to why the pain exists in the first place, we aren't going to heal or overcome what it's trying to whisper to us. So I find there's this tension between, like, I don't want to identify with this thing because it's just going to make it worse. And suffering is resistance. But also, if I don't listen to why I'm not energized, why I have this pain, then I'm not going to be able to overcome it. So how do we disentangle this, like, paradox between the feedback that the body's giving us, but not over identifying with it as well?
Yeah, it's a good question and nicely articulated. Um, I agree. A lot of people, it's easy to say that pain is just simply a message that our brain is receiving. And people who are in chronic pain, we know that those messages might be a little bit confused, or they might be very much amplified. Allodynia, the actual change of the perception of the experience, or hyperalgesia where the volume is just turned right up. So we can logically say that, okay, the pain you're experiencing, it might not be as bad as you're actually experiencing. And if you're continuing to focus on it, that's going to turn the volume up on it, particularly if we're not having any control over our nervous system and we're really anxious about it. And then we have the context of the situation, which is, imagine if you had chronic lower back pain and bricklayer, for instance, let's say your dad had chronic lower back pain and it forced him to stop working. You're going, holy shit, this is my livelihood. I'm paying off a mortgage. Is this back going to cause me to stop work? So the whole thing is just amplified. I don't believe it's just a message in our head. I listened to a beautiful talk one time and they said the issue is in the tissues. It is coming from the tissues of the body and there is a reason for it being there. I do like the kind of saying that the pain will leave you once it's taught you the lessons that it came here to teach you. So the thing to navigate, which is Buddhism theory, which is when you're in a difficult situation, you have two options, and one is acceptance, and one is resistance or resentment. And so the thing is, am I resisting the experience? Am I resenting it? Am I in kind of victim mentality around the whole thing? That seems to, what we resist persists. That seems to feed into it and doesn't help in the healing from it. Versus, okay, I'm accepting my current set of circumstances. I'm accepting my experience and I'm accepting these sensations, although they're not pleasant. I'm listening to my body. What is it trying to teach me? Maybe the way I've been living my life has put me in this position, and I need to make some changes that will change my physiology in time that will help me to heal from this thing. So it's certainly, we're dealing with the biology and the physiology in the whole thing. But that acceptance versus resistance piece is a big part of the puzzle. How can we accept our set of circumstances and move through it as peacefully and as calmly as we possibly can? That's going to help.
I always find that that's quite analogous to our pursuits in life, right? Like it's striving to be more, to create something more, but finding gratitude, acceptance, and love for what we have. And it's like similar to the mind and body when we have pain. It's right, like this is what should we just accept due to aging? Like this
Yeah.
is just, and that's a common thing that people say. Like I hear that from my parents, some of my parents, or my dad and stepmom, but my mum's not on this bandwagon. But
Yeah.
this is just what happens when you get old, and oh, you wouldn't get it. And I'm like, is that true? Because I've interviewed a lot of people who are older who have totally transcended these so-called limitations of aging
Yeah.
by eating different foods, mobility work, mindset work.
Yeah.
So what are we missing?
Yeah. Look, I think you're spot on. And the way we live our life will determine how we're going to be feeling and how the body's going to be feeling. The body adapts the way we teach it to adapt. And if we're spending a whole lot of time, pursuing habits that aren't very healthy, we're being very stagnant, the body will adapt in that way. It's an efficient machine in its adaptation, that if you're not using it in a particular way, if you're not using the spine the way it's designed to be used, everything's going to tighten up and everything's going to stiffen up, and that's going to create more of an environment in which stiffness and then inflammation can kind of inhabit in those areas. The saying, you're as old as your spine moves. You look at the poor old 85 something year old man or lady hunched over the four-wheeled walker, and that real hunched over thing, and if you ask them to do a back bend, they just simply would barely even be able to look up. And you just imagine the period leading up to that. Let's say they retired from work and then they were sitting on the couch spending a lot of time drinking tea and watching TV in this kind of hunched position. That's sending a message to the body that that's all we're using it for now. And then over the years and years, the body just adapts in that way and it stiffens up, and then they lose the ability to do a back bend. They lose the ability to look up and use their joints in that way. So it's just understanding that yes, the body adapts the way you teach it to adapt. It just so happens that as we age, we get busier, we get lazier, whatever, that it seems to become a system in which more inflammation and more
Mm.
stiffness will kind of uh, yeah, that'll be the case. But of course, hormones change as we age. But again, like we can work with all of that, like as a man, there, yes, the testosterone starts to come down, so the vitality is going to come down. But again, that will happen more and more so if you stop doing the things that you were doing when you were younger. So I think keeping that curiosity, keeping that playfulness, keeping that activity, keeping healthy, that's going to keep the body and the biology and the physiology feeling pretty bloody good. Like, we know that there's a difference between your actual age and your biological physiological age, and there's ways of assessing that to see how old is this actual body physiologically. They might be 65 years old, but they might have the body of a 45-year-old because of the way they've lived.
The word inflammation is a buzzword, right? Like
Yeah,
it's used all the time.
yeah,
This food lowers inflammation. This breathwork session is going to reduce systemic inflammation.
yeah.
What actually is it, and what do we need to know about it?
Taking me back to anatomy and physiology, 102 or whatever it was, in which we wrote pages of what inflammation
Or
is.
just even use it if you can come up with a metaphor for it,
Well,
something to understand it.
it's kind of like this hypercellular area. So picture an area that's really sore and it looks red and it looks swollen, like you banged your knee on something and that's clearly inflamed. Basically what's happened, bang, there's been an incident, and then okay, little cellular messengers in there send messages out to the body and go, well, we've had an accident here, we need help. So they start pulling in all these other cells that are gonna help. There's if there's a wound, then little I think of them as little Pac-Men, these little macrophages start chewing away the um the the debris that's there, or the tissue that's been injured, and then that brings it. Basically, they just start bringing all their friends into this area that becomes this really hypercellular area that actually becomes this self-fulfilling thing where inflammation creates more inflammation, and that's actually quite hard to stop that. Now, inflammation is a normal function of the body. So with all those cells also comes hypersensitive pain cells and things like that. So things that make the area painful. So all of these things are a normal evolutionary function of the body. There's a reason why we have inflammation. So inflammation itself is not the big bad wolf, right? We need inflammation. Inflammation is a part of how we move through life. So for instance, if you do an ankle and you tear the ligament in your ankle and the whole area becomes really inflamed, some of those cells that come to the area start creating this beautiful new scaffolding for new ligament tissue that creates a really nice strong ligament. So you don't want to get rid of inflammation altogether, right? You need inflammation to help the area heal. So I think painting inflammation with like a bad brush is actually incorrect. But what we're trying to do is manage how much inflammation is there, because a little bit of inflammation is fine. A little bit of inflammation is healing. That helps to get the job done and helps the area heal. But it's when it's out of control, and let's say the body's environment is a little bit more acidic, that might be more prone to more inflammation and things like that. So yes, would anti-inflammatory foods be a good idea? It can't be a bad idea, because you're going to naturally have inflammation as part of a healing response. But what we're trying to do is manage just how much inflammation we have in the area and mitigate there being too much unhelpful inflammation. So, your fish oils and your anything naturally anti-inflammatory can't be a bad thing. So, yeah.
I think that's a common Western approach, right? We're looking to manage and be reactive rather than proactive and look upstream at what is misaligned, or like what foods are we eating, what people, what job are we doing, all these other factors that are creating the stress.
Yeah.
And it's like when people do this is what I've seen within myself, right? You can do a big breathwork session, right? This release of suppressed emotions. But if you haven't done any subconscious work and you haven't gone back to where the beliefs come in the first place that causes you to suppress emotions, the accumulation, the reservoir of suppressed energy is going to continue to accumulate.
That's right.
And it's similar to like inflammation, right? Like if you keep eating the same foods, you keep doing the same job you hate. Okay, it's good that you do, a sauna or an ice bath to help.
Yeah.
But in 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever, like the same problem is gonna
You got to
occur.
get deeper. You got to get to the root cause.
And I'm all about root cause.
Yeah, same.
So
That's cool. Yeah, as I was talking, I was drawing similarities to other areas like you pointed.
yeah,
100%.
how common do you think it is? Because you've obviously worked with a lot of people. What is the average person just looking to remove this presenting problem rather than be like, I want to solve the root cause, or people like just get rid of this pain point?
Yeah, I think probably a typical physio, it's probably the get rid of this pain point. I'm in pain and I don't want to be in pain, basically. I think over the years I've built a reputation for, I think, just helping people to feel better. So I get more and more people that just come in going, I just had the urge to come in and have an appointment with you. I had a feeling that you might be able to help me just thrive a little bit more, or that sort of thing. So I find, I'm really grateful that I've been able to create a work environment where I'm getting more and more people that are just there to go on a journey and dive into wellness, mind and body, and even spirituality, because they have a feeling that they're missing some bits, and they can see that I talk about the body mind connection and spirituality a lot, and they're happy to go on that journey, and I'm so happy that that's what's happening, and it's happening more and more. So for me, it's not just I'm in pain. It often is I'm in pain, but they might come in and go, look, I'm not in too much pain right now. I'm actually feeling okay, but just interested to get my body moving a bit better. I'm interested to work on my mobility. More of that preventative thing, which is really
What's your most controversial belief for health and healing?
cool. I would say, yeah, what's come up a bit recently with the big authenticity piece, and that a lack of authenticity, or if a person is acting out of authenticity, that could be a contributing factor to their dis-ease, their lack of ease, their uncomfortable situation that they might find themselves in. I had a good chat about this on the Hard Yarns, and I think in retrospect, if I could have added one more little statement, I would have said the problem with that is that, well, most people think that they're acting from authenticity. And if someone has a disease and, and they believe they've been acting authentically their whole life, then that's a bloody hard pill to swallow, because they may have well been acting as authentically as they possibly could have. But the problem is they might not actually know themselves on a deep level. So some people don't know whether they're acting authentically or they're not acting authentically. And that's because they don't know the difference, because they haven't done the inner exploration to find out who they truly are. Unfortunately, it seems being a human, you're not just handed that relationship on a silver platter. I think we're born very authentic. And throughout our, younger years, I believe we are. And then over the years, as experiences happen and layers of conditioning start to develop in the system, we start to lose who we are a little bit. And so someone who thinks they're acting authentically may actually be acting from one of their layers of conditioning, or one of their parts, if you know of internal family systems and things like that. So what I believe is, if we're not coming from that place of authenticity. If you are in authenticity, if you are in your truth, life's quite simple, and you move in flow with life. Honest, you're in integrity, you're in authenticity, and there's not a heap of internal tension and pressure within the system. Versus if you're trying to navigate things and it's quite difficult, and you're trying to manipulate things, and you're trying to act the way that you think society's telling you to act, well, that comes with a heap of internal tension and a heap of excessive pressure, and it probably puts you in at least a low grade stress response. And I believe in time that starts to create the physiology within the environment in which disease can start to develop.
Mm.
So that's the thing. It's a tough pill to swallow to say someone not being authentic, that may lead to disease, but I think it goes a lot deeper than that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I 100% agree with it.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Demartini method?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
good friends with Mitch,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're
Mitchy boy, great.
yeah, and we're actually in a partnership
Oh, sick.
now. But I've done heaps of work with him. He's actually my accountability partner, so we do
Oh,
an hour
sick.
call every week.
That's cool.
But I love the Demartini method. I have a psych degree, and I've researched
Awesome,
so
man.
much. And the Demartini method is for my opinion. There'll probably be an ad 10 minutes into this later on in this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, sick.
But it's like genuinely, I believe it's the most powerful tool for
Very cool.
for inner work. Because coming back to that, when you said some people don't think they're authentic, and I think what people get stuck in is pride, and people think when they're like a good person, for example, there's a lot of like when you look at pride as a vibrational state, it's actually quite low, like as one of the frequencies. And it's like, when people get raised to do the right thing, be a good person, and that when they do kind things, they want to be seen as prideful. Sorry, they want to be seen as that person.
That's right.
And the Demartini method was so powerful to help me. It's obviously an ever evolving journey. I'm not even close to
Of course.
complete or integrate, whatever you want to call it. But like, it helps pull back the illusory nature of our mind. And man, I can't believe how much we lie to ourselves in the sense of like the distortion that is created in our mind, and how powerful that framework is. It's just asking questions and getting into the unconscious mind to really restore authenticity. Because in the theory, like, authenticity is the collapsing of pride and shame into love and authenticity in the middle. So it's this integration process.
Nice.
And I feel like as I've done more of that, and as I've had more experiences to compound that work, the theory, or not the theory, but like, it makes so much sense to me. Like, the world is actually, it makes sense. Like,
it gets pretty simple once you.
It's just, and everyone's minds, everyone's brains are like on somewhat survival mode, like projecting. It's like literally a show in everyone's mind. Like, we have over 180 cognitive biases. Our mind is literally, our brain is just trying to survive when we're in the amygdala.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that we think that the meaning that we make in our mind is actually reality. I'm reading a book, The Untethered Soul.
Oh, yeah. I haven't read that, but
it's so good. And it's like, it's the same thing. We just think that the show that we see is objective. It convinces us it to be true because it's often defending a belief it has created that it thinks it needs to have in order to survive due to the past. And it's crazy. But I'm interested in your perspective on how the nervous system complements that too, because we always talk about beliefs and thoughts, but it's honestly all tied into the nervous system, and how that, because I know for me, like, I'm way less anxious than I used to be as I've done more of this inner work, because like, I was super hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
And obviously that was a protection strategy. But what do you think we need to understand about the nervous system and how it helps us regulate ourselves and understand the world that we're in?
Well, I mean, it's everything, right? Like, the nervous system is determining how you're feeling in any given moment. If you're feeling calm, more in your parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, feeling more grounded, that's just simply creating an environment that you can flow, that you can act from a place of love, and that you can be authentic, right? Because if something has taken you out of parasympathetic and turned the dial up towards sympathetic, turn the dial up into a fight or flight stress response, well, then naturally it's going to light up the amygdala, and naturally your fear parts of you, your real primitive fear part, me against you, that's where the separation comes in. Yeah, that's right. And that's where it's me against you. And that's where I'm in survival mode. And that's where bang, cortisol's up, adrenaline's up. I'm in survival. And you're either in fight or flight, or you're in sympathetic. It's not just a button, one or the other, but it's a sliding scale. And you're either more in fight or flight, which is naturally going to be me against you, because I'm in survival. I've got to protect myself and my people, versus I'm in parasympathetic. I'm feeling safe in my body and in my environment. And now let's just be authentic, and let's just flow, and let's come from that place of love. It's very hard to come from that place of love if you're in fight or flight
It's
survival.
true.
So, Stu and me, we do our quiet mind, open heart workshops, which is the whole thing of exploring how do we get out of our head and come back down into our heart. Like, we know the energy emitting from the heart is so much greater and so much more powerful than that coming from the head. And I think if we're in fear, and if we're in one of our parts, if we're coming from our layers of conditioning, that's going to be more fight or flight. That's going to be more a feeling of separateness. If we can drop out of the head and come back to the heart and ground down and dial down towards parasympathetic, then I can come from my heart, and then I can let my authentic, my true self come through. And then we can come from that place of love, and then it's just heart to heart, and you can feel the energy in that. So that's going to be much healthier. That's going to be much calmer for the nervous system. So I think the two are very closely related, and just maybe even having that conversation, it's pretty clear. Hey, I think so.
Before we continue, I want to share something that has genuinely transformed my life. Now, I've spent years studying psychology and interviewing expert guests, but I've never found anything as effective as the DiMartini method. Now, most frameworks just teach you how to manage your feelings, but this is specialized in dissolving the heavy emotional charges that keep you stuck. It's about stripping away the baggage, the resentment, the heartbreak, the anger, so you can actually reclaim your life and move forward with clarity and inspiration. Mitchell Vickridge at Nirvana Health is a specialist in this process. He has created a specialized product that simplifies the DiMartini method so you can apply it to yourself and start regaining control immediately. For those who want to go deeper, he also offers professional one-on-one coaching and facilitation. If you want to stop being held hostage by your past and start mastering it, go check out the link in the show notes to get 10% off all his services and products. It's the most powerful tool I've ever used to empower all areas of my life. Thank you, and let's get back to the show. Because one of the biggest awakenings that you can have is when you realize thoughts and feelings that you have aren't truth. They're not objective. They're just a distortion, or not even that. They're like illusory, because the brain will tell you anything it needs to in order to survive.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard internal battle, being like, how do I validate my experience with realizing that I have a brain that is often sending its ammunition of thoughts and thoughts, emotions, and feelings that aren't actually based in truth to keep me surviving. But if I never listen to myself and I just think it's all fake and a distortion, then I'm never really going to make any progress. There is a lot of tension with that journey, and I've had to really navigate, like, how do I create a process where I'm realizing that when I have a lot of these negative thoughts, doubts, emotions, that they aren't really true. But if I don't honor them and I don't actually give a space to lean in and learn what part of me is sending that, I'm not really going to evolve. I'm just going to stay stuck. And it's this real balance of like, okay, let go, ground myself, and then finding a time later on to really integrate that experience as well.
That's right. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So you found the DiMartini method to be the most effective?
I think for me, I'm very heady. That's what Mitch calls me. I like the name heady. I'm a big thinker. Its greatest strength is often your greatest weakness, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very intellectual, but I often use that against myself. But this method has been really good to, one, you get asked questions. It's quite systematic, and you really lean into like your intuition. And I think for me, it's quite logical, and I really like that, because it's like, so let's say I create it's often there's two things. You either create a fantasy because you're going towards prey in the amygdala, or you create a nightmare and you're running away from predator. And there's
Right.
often the question I ask myself is, what are the draw? So if I'm creating a fantasy, getting really in my amygdala, thinking that this thing is going to satiate this lack in me, like I'm not happy now. I need this thing.
Mhm.
You just ask yourself the question, like, what are the drawbacks? And you can start
Yeah.
listing them. You start really leaning in, like, what are the downsides? Because the biggest misperception is that something's missing, and this is what Mitch keeps telling me. He's like, nothing's missing. Because I was doing it with my podcast, like, it's not making enough money, it's not
Yeah.
doing this, and
Yeah.
he just keeps saying, like, he just asked me the question, and then you really lean in, and man, the answers are all inside.
Mm.
And you do that for the inverse, like, what are the benefits to the situation you're in right now? There's different questions for different things, but and you just start integrating this distortion because your mind is distorting reality, and you come back into reality, and that's where you're like, fuck, it's this, and you find peace and gratitude for how it's played out because it's all serving a role for you. We're just unconscious to it.
Yeah, that's right. That's awesome. It's very cool. Just trying to draw the parallels because it's similar to. Have you gone into IFS a lot or not that
I've
much?
heard of a guest talk about it, but it's one of the things, don't you reckon? Like, there's so many methods, systems, things.
There's a lot.
I am somewhat outspoken against traditional Western therapy
Yeah.
based upon the modeling of it because it is a victim perpetrator model, which limits people in their ability to transcend experiences because it is one directional, it's causal, it's you cause my pain. Like you can't transcend that if there's no other side. If it's just you cause me pain and there's no benefit at all, you can never transcend that pain logically.
Yeah.
And that's a different rabbit hole. But I think there's so many beautiful things that work for different people. I think this method works for me, and I think a lot of my listeners are pretty similar, quite heady and quite think a lot, and it's beautiful. But there's a lot of different practices that work. The reason I know it's powerful is because like everything starts with a perception in the mind.
Yeah.
And this works on the perception. There's a few other models that are pretty similar, but I think the DeMartini, I read it the other day, it's like the only like when you become a licensed practitioner, I think it's one of the only ones that you can do to like be qualified to like teach it and like be like a therapy.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
But it's quite what I find fascinating is it's still quite those sort of I can't even use the word alternative because Mitch says it means alternative, which is nature, and his method is not altering. It's actually his
more within nature.
His is the mainstream. The other one, the ones that you get presented by Western world, is actually the alternative.
That's pretty reasonable, yeah.
But a lot of them just they teach similar principles, and it's like I think things work for different people.
Yeah.
But I think if you're not getting to the root cause in them,
yeah,
then you're sort of going to be limited by it. You're going to have the label, and you're gonna be stuck in some way.
That's right. I think a goal for anyone on the path should be to get to know themselves. And so whatever system helps them to get to know the deepest core of themselves outside of the things that cause them discomfort and anxieties is worth them exploring. So whatever they end up with. So yoga, for instance, you know, you can think of it as people doing downward dogs and doing different poses in Lululemon, or people going on a journey through the self. You know, learning about their true nature through these different poses, through meditation to learn to understand themselves. And I just remember going to see do a workshop with a good friend, Tara Judell, and I thought she was a good teacher of my brother, and I thought we're just stepping into a weekend yoga intensive, and it ended up being yoga meets IFS. She was using the IFS model with yoga to explore the self, to go within, to understand if you're coming from one of your parts, either one of the exiles or one of the protector parts, versus if you're in your true self. And I think it's quite a nice system for helping you know when you're in your authentic true self. Just quite a nice, simple set of guidelines, you know, coming back to curiosity, coming back to confidence, coming back to, it just helps to go, okay, I'm actually I'm acting from that place of authenticity, from that place of truth within me, versus, and you actually get to know those parts of yourself. You get to know that manager that has that relentless drive, like you in the IFS model, that was your manager who's saying, I'm not earning enough money, I'm not doing enough, I need to be making more of an impact, you know? So it's like, oh, that's that manager. And then you get to know that part of you a little bit more. And that's not you coming from your true authentic self. That's your manager just being a bit wound up in that moment. And then we learn to go, thank you, manager. I wouldn't be where I am without you. I wouldn't have this podcast without that manager. But when we get to know it and become good friends with it, we can go, you know what, you can just take a little holiday and just chill out a little bit because you've been working really hard, and we'll fire everything up again in a week or something like that. So it's actually just learning about those different parts. Yeah. So I've personally found that to be helpful in getting to know those other parts of myself. It's pretty cool.
Because I heard this definition being repeated to me a few times. It's just consciousness is information. So like when you become more conscious, you become aware of information that's already existed, especially like inside yourself, because when you become more aware, more conscious, as people say, and it's like, oh, I know myself more. It's like you're aware of information. And that's why when I like the DeMartinis, it's so direct. Like
Yeah.
it's such a foolproof system of like asking the questions. The guy as well, like Dr. John DeMartini, who's Mitch has obviously met, like he is the most well researched man. Apparently he's read over 30,000 books. He's got credentials in like every ology possible. Like he's combined all of the like possible things that you can imagine.
Wow.
And if there's a better system or model, I'm very open to it. But
yeah, cool. You love it.
or like there's times where like I've been like this thing that happened in the past was only one thing. Have you ever had that thought where like sayings in the past, you're like, that is only bad? You just have this like certainty that it's bad.
Yeah.
And I've gone back time and time again and just been able to be like, holy shit, I needed that. Or like there's another side of the story, because we often the image that I've had in my mind that's really good is like think of like a flat line, and then you just got like a line going straight up. So you've basically got 90 degrees on both sides of the line.
Yeah.
Our amygdala is often focusing on one or the other, like the red or the green.
Yeah.
Either running towards the prey to consume, to satiate, or to run away from the predator.
Yeah.
And the method is all about asking the questions to find the information on the other side. And that's where the authenticity lies, when you've integrated both sides and there's just a letting go, because it's like, it's happened for me, or like there's just a lack of resistance, or the emotion often gets created by the distortion.
Yeah.
And that's why I've found in my life, same patterns keep happening until I learn the lesson from them.
Yeah.
Because it's trying to teach you to see the other side. Like that's the spiritual element of the DeMartini method, is like you'll keep getting fed the same difficult experiences because it's trying to get you to see, let's say the bad experience, it's trying to get you to see the green. And I've noticed this in my life. Whenever I've seen the green, learned from it, taken action on it, transcended it, it stops appearing.
Nice.
And also my nervous system knows how to handle it, because it's the perception that drives all of the emotion and the pain, and the interconnection between the mind and body is profound.
Yeah, you can't separate the two.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm seeing curiosity for what's there rather than green or red. It's like just getting curious, and you know, curiosity being perhaps the exact opposite to anxiety. You know, it's like rather than green or red and anxious, you know, it's like let's get curious and let's get playful, and that helps to zoom out a bit, and it helps the perspective shift.
Because I wrote before, when someone made this video of me, right, you get like this cancel when people try to cancel you, right? I had this like a little surge of anxiety, not too bad. I've dealt with it plenty of times before.
Yeah.
But like, and then I started like journaling. I was like, because I'm just like, fuck, this is just I just love learning about the mind, body, myself. So I was like, what is this? What actually is this? And I was like, anxiety is like, I want to be in control of the outside world.
Yeah.
Like I want to have certainty that what's happening, I'm going to be okay. And then when you flip that, right, you said like curiosity, it's like the antidote to that is anxiety, but it's so difficult, because I was talking to a friend the other day on the potty, Lewis Huckstep, and it was like we're talking about when you're in the moment of like a dysregulated
that's
period,
right.
that is not the time to integrate and learn. That's the time to calm yourself down, ground yourself, your nervous system, get through it, and then you reflect on the experience. I think
that's right.
When you're very heady like me, I've found in the past when I'm stressed or overwhelmed, I'm trying to like problem solve, trying to use my mind to get to the solution instead of like calm myself down, get through it, and then I reflect on it and integrate whatever lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. You got to get through the storm a little bit first. Um, but yeah, that's cool. That's beautiful. Yeah, I like it. I definitely want to look at the Demartini
Mm.
method. But yeah, there's a lot out there, and whatever helps you to make meaning and make peace with the whole thing. But certainly, number one is learning to regulate the nervous
Mm.
system.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you can get through anything. If you can come back to your breath and calm the system, that will get you through any storm.
Mm.
And you can be in the eye of the storm. You know, that that I don't know. It's a little meme or whatever that you think of Zen and you just think of this meditator just chilling in this garden. And that's Zen, and it's like no, Zen is the meditator chilling, and it's just fire everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
that's
true.
Zen, be in the eye of the storm. You can find calm despite whatever is happening in your environment if you have the ability to observe what's going on within yourself, observe the anxieties, the discomfort, come back to the breath, and you just calm everything down. It might not have changed the external circumstances, it might not have changed the relative chaos, but you feel more calm and centered within yourself. And then you're going to be able to start to use your mind for you. The mind can be a beautiful servant or a terrible master. You can use it to help you navigate the
Mm.
situation, and you can do it from a much calmer, more loving place, as opposed to this frantic amygdala charged kind of
Mm.
going through. And we know we're not at our best when we're in that revved up state. We want to find that more calm approach to kind of navigate through the madness.
Because the nervous system is so obviously connected, like with the mind, with the central nervous system, but it's like it's just our mind is literally our brain. It's just literally a prediction machine, right? Like
Mm,
it just wants to be okay,
yeah.
so it doesn't care if it stresses you out. It like I say this passionately because like it's happened when I was younger. Like I didn't really realize it at the time, but like the reason I'm stressed is because I'm just trying to be okay. I'm like forcing myself to prepare for a situation. But what has helped me a lot, besides doing like inner work, doing all the DeMartini, doing a lot of breath work stuff, and has actually been philosophy. And I don't know how
Yeah.
much you've delved in philosophy, but I've had a lot of guests on who are quite religious, and then I've also had guests on who are not.
Yeah.
I've delved a lot into nihilism and then people's different worldviews on Christianity and other religions. I find it super fascinating how people navigate this existence.
Yeah, same. And I guess I've probably gone more into yoga philosophy.
What's that? Teach me about that.
Well, the journey to the self through the self. It's it's a yeah, literally a path to finding your true self. I mean, if you look at all of the poses you see, it's said that going back thousands of years, that all the different poses were just created to allow the human being to be able to sit comfortably for long periods of time so that they could meditate for long periods of time. Um, so they started, okay, if I stretch my hips here and do these poses and do these both my spine each direction, um, then that's going to allow you to sit for long periods of time calmly so that you can go on this journey through the self and to get to know yourself really well. Um, the one of the core principles is this central axis of the body, which they refer to as the Sushumna Nadi, which is the central channel. They refer to it as the energetic superhighway for which energy flows. If you imagine a hose that has a kink in it, there's a blockage.
Mm.
So, to be able to sit up nice and tall and to meditate on energy moving up and down with the breath. So if I breathe in, and energy moves up, and I breathe out and energy moves down, then I can imagine this clear channel for which energy can flow up and down the spine, up and down the central axis, the Sushumna Nadi. It gets deeper and deeper. I think there's seen an image of up to 70 something thousand different channels all throughout the
Is
body.
this to do with the chakras?
The chakras are the seven energy main systems throughout the body. So from root chakra, the heart chakra, all the way to the crown chakra. So they're like your core energy systems,
Yeah.
like focal areas of intense energy. The cool thing about the chakras is if you look at the different philosophies, like Chinese philosophy, they have a similar set of energy systems, and they have a similar set of meridians, but it's just a slight variance in how they're doing it. So they're all looking at the energetics of the human system, but they're doing it in slightly different ways, which is really cool. So then the idea, and what I kind of like to draw upon, is using the different movements and the different stretches. So you've seen bits of like my spinal flow and stuff. That is, how can I learn about my system? So by connecting with my body and by moving and by doing that curiously, okay, well, that's going to drop me from anxiety to being calm and being grounded. If I do it with this kind of curious exploration, connecting with my body as I breathe and calm my nervous system, and then I learn to move every single one of my spine and to do that quite well. Um, that in itself, I'm obsessed with learning new things because of what it does with neuroplasticity and rewiring of the brain. So I believe it also helps us to um, work through old traumas and stuff, because we're rewiring our whole system. So imagining we're creating this kind of smooth channel in the physiology of it and the actual tissues of the body, which then helps to create this clear channel for the energy to move throughout the body. So that's where this kind of ripple effect comes in, because if my spine's moving really softly and gently, and I have good neuromuscular control, then I have good connection with the flow of energy through the body. That's drawing upon the kind of yoga philosophy. And, another key philosophy about yoga is balance. And that's just inherent in the kind of belief system. If you do a yoga class, you do a downward dog, you do an upward dog, you do a forward bend, you do a back bend, side to side. You breathe in, you balance it with the exhalation. There's this constant balance, in, out, up, down, forward, back. And you walk out of the class and you feel like you're walking that little bit taller, and you're that little bit clearer and that little bit calmer and that little bit more connected with yourself, understanding yourself. And it just seems that throughout the process, something that's really cool, let's say the big breath work, the big cathartic release. Like, I know, I think the true yogis have a little bit of a funny feeling about the big cathartic breath work.
Like the 9D stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Um, because you're very abruptly opening Pandora's box a little bit. You're cracking it open. Whereas, let's say, long-term psychology, or let's say, the yoga approach is like a gentle, calm, slowly learning about yourself over time, gathering the tools to manage the system, to stay calm. And these things pop up, like the classic thing is you're doing a deep pigeon pose, and or a deep hip flexor stretch, and you start crying or whatever, right? And it's like, within the philosophy is that the tissues store old stuff. We know the body stores onto the old stuff. It's have a discussion about where we think it's all being stored. But that deep stretch, and perhaps with the emotive music and whatever, the set and settings just right, and you have this big cathartic emotional release, and all you did was stretching out your hips. So it seems to be super therapeutic, super cathartic for lots of people, in more of like a slow burn approach, I think. But I like it because it gives people the tools to manage. It gives people, in yoga, the idea is when you come back to your seat, ready for a session, I'm coming back home. I'm coming back to that place where I feel safe within myself. where I can calm everything down, where I can work with my thoughts, learn to observe them without judgment, and just learn about them, learn about the feelings. So that's part of the philosophy. I went to India a couple of months ago with my brother, and it was fucking epic. We went to Rishikesh and did a retreat there, which is where it all comes from. And look, the more you go into it, the deeper there's so much there. There's thousands of years of philosophy there. So I've probably just scratched the surface.
Yeah, that's awesome. I find it so amazing how the mind and body, right, are so connected. Like, for example, when I've had stress in my back, for example,
Yeah,
like I know that that has been a direct reflection of feeling overwhelmed in my life. Like I'm taking on too much responsibility. Like I'm not asking for help.
yeah,
When I've had a sore throat before, like, and I know that that's been because I haven't been able to speak up about something that's important to me. Like there's all this like symbolism in our body.
yeah,
And like, that's why I like some of these chakras, like energy chakras, because if there's a block, like it will cause the pain. And it's like, that's the feedback.
yeah.
But like I said, it's like how do you approach that? Whereas, yeah, I think I'm someone who's constantly like, okay, what does this mean? What is this teaching us? And
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was early on in because I came into yoga more from the sciencey, physio-y, very palpable, graspable concepts, right? And I liked yoga for the ability to regulate the nervous system and a really smart way to get the body feeling amazing. You know, I liked it for those things. And I started teaching it probably more from that place of this is going to help you to regulate your body, help you to understand your body, and help you to stretch out all your tight stuff, basically. And that's going to get you through most stuff. But the deeper I've kind of gone into it, the more I've I'm really resonating with the working with the energy of the whole thing. I wasn't kind of into the chakras as much before, um, but the more I've gone into it, the more I'm absolutely loving it. So I do a kind of morning meditation where I kind of tune in with the chakras. It's so cool, man. Like even different vibratory tones, like the different sound bowls will resonate with that different area within your body.
crazy.
It resonates with a different color. It resonates with a different feeling. So, um, to think that we're not working with the vibration and the energy of all of this, I think it would be pretty crazy to think that there's not that not that stuff going on. It's quite interesting. So yeah, I really love it. And there's more to explore. Okay.
What are the top 3 exercises or stretches we can do for our health?
For our health, well, you just got to think with the yoga philosophy of balance and understanding that the body adapts the way we teach it to adapt, um, and the relationship between head and stress and fear versus heart and openness and love. So if you picture the classic desk jockey situation, arms wrapped inwards, clicking away or on my phone, on the computer, whatever it might be, forward head, trunk lean, shoulders rounded forward, this sort of thing. If I'm doing a lot of this, I'm teaching my body that that's how I should be adapting. Plus, I'm going to be in my head a lot because I'm glued to the screen, and chances are I'm probably not aware of my breath, so I'm probably short, sharp, upper chest breathing. Um, all head, all wired up kind of thing. So what I would do is go the complete opposite of that would be to wrap the arms open, wrap the thumbs back, all the fascia through here. Another trending word is fascia that stores all that stuff. So if you externally rotate and wrap the thumbs back, you're opening up your heart space and you're stretching out all this fascia. And if you breathe in there, in through the nose, and breathe out, it's a very quick way to go from head to heart. And then we just have a little reset and we get back into it through there. So we have to be thinking, how am I balancing out all this wiring up, this inward wrapping, where I think of it, we're either There's two forces acting on the body. One is wrapping us in towards each other. So if you think of the look of someone in shock, like this kind of thing, the arms, we use our bones to protect ourselves, right? So the look of fear or the look of shock is the fetal position, right? The sound of that breath all up in the upper chest. I'm all caught up here. The look in the eyes like darting, this sort of thing. Now that's going to be all head. That's going to be all sympathetic nervous system. So the opposite of that, proud through the heart. I wouldn't be showing my heart if I wasn't safe. So by doing this, my system receives the information that I'm safe. By wrapping my arms a little bit more externally, by rotating my shoulders back a bit, by relaxing my neck, I'm exposing all this stuff to you because I trust you. And my system will receive that information and calm everything down. So it'll turn down towards parasympathetic. And then if I'm breathing with my nasal belly breath and smiling, my system is safe. So we constantly want to be coming back to that safe posture, that safe breathing, because then the nervous system is receiving the information. We are safe. So if that's two different exercises, one is opening up, the other one is that calm breath. And then the other thing I would say is just like looking for softness. Something I do at the beginning of every class is I just get people to imagine they're drawing this little figure eight with their nose. And I just like to say that the body wasn't designed to move in straight lines with yeses and nos. It's designed to kind of move through these more circles or spirals. So if you're doing that and you're feeling, and do it nice and slowly, you're starting to connect with these little muscles that control every vertebrae in your neck. And you can gently feel into them. You can gently nod your chin towards your chest, or you can gently tilt your head back. And what you're doing, you're connecting in with these little muscles that control the vertebrae, that by doing so, you're relaxing these other big global muscles that everyone who's doing a lot of clenching and everyone who's really tight, the sternocleidomastoid and these erectors back here. By connecting in with the deeper muscles, you help the bigger ones relax, because it's like a seesaw. People who are too wound up here, these sternocleidos are going to be cranking, and then the jaw gets really tight. So relax the jaw, gentle movement, and then you're spreading that nourishing joint lubricant around the synovial fluid, which nourishes them and is therapy for all the tissues. So I always say this motion is lotion, which is movement, is therapy for the joints. And then if you're doing that while you're mindfully connecting to those tissues, while you're mindfully aware of the breath, again, back to yoga philosophy. Yoga, by definition, means to yoke, which is to bring together, like the coagulation of an egg. And we're bringing together our attention with movement and with the breath. Movement, breath, and our mindfulness, and then we're doing yoga, basically. So with that philosophy, you can take that philosophy to anything. You can do your yoga while you're walking, aware of the breath, observing everything around you, aware of your posture. You can do your yoga while you're doing your gym. You can do your yoga while we're having this podcast, because you're aware of your posture, keeping your breath nice and calm, and you're keeping your attention focused.
Have you seen like those mentalists or those like body language experts? Like the body doesn't lie, basically, is like, and the body conveys information, and these people are specialized in sort of decoding body language. And it's crazy. My friend has a book who he did sales, which was really good for like helping like disarm people and build rapport. I actually really want to read it, because it's like there's so much information about like when people are in public and they're like holding their hand. It's like a power stance when they've got the hand against the wall. It's like literally how we convey our body is showcasing internally what we're feeling. And it's like, think about that from a powerful aspect of like, if you knew what people were conveying. But it's like, I find that fascinating as well, because there's like, this is literally why I studied psychology, did a podcast, do all this stuff, because like I had a deep sense of rejection due to things that happened when I was growing up in school and stuff like that. And it was literally like, well, if I can just understand why everyone treats me the way they do, or why everyone thinks or believes things and internally as well, then I'll have peace. So,
Good on you, man.
and similar to like, it's not always a good thing, but the DeMartini thing is like your void. So your voids drive your values. So I felt a void of like understanding. So that
Yeah.
drove my curiosity to find it. So
Yeah.
I value connection, also truth. It's like
Nice.
your voids drive your values, and then your purpose is an expression of your highest values. So like the
Yeah.
podcast is an expression of my highest values. So it's like
Love it, man.
I love how when I look back, everything makes sense. And that's what I'm trying to hopefully do through the podcast is, and I love mind and body. I think it's undervalued, the connection
Mm.
between mind and body. I think people are like, oh, I've just got to, go to therapy to deal with my mind, or I've just got to go to a physio because I have this. It's just like, there's no holistic nature to health. And I think I get it because people are trying to sell one thing,
Yeah.
but it's also undervaluing like the balance of like, what are you eating? Who do you spend time with? Phone use? Do you get sunlight? Do you drink quality water? Do
You
you
gotta
like your
gotta hit it
job?
from every angle
Oh,
for sure.
this, and I get there's an obsession point where you don't need to obsess on everything. Right? I think it's better to be consistent across all of them.
Mm.
But I think we have this illusion that just one thing, one piece of the puzzle is going to like solve it.
Yeah.
Whereas that's why I love I talk to so many different experts across so many fields because I'm like, there's so many different golden nuggets that we can do that are so easy to implement that can actually like change our life. And it doesn't have to
That's
be
right.
so complex and, pay me $300 to, and then you end up spending thousands on all these pills and medications.
Yeah, man.
There's so much information that can change our lives. And I want to be able to give that back to people.
Oh man, you're doing a great job, and you've got a heap of knowledge to share with all the different experts as well. I think that the mind body one is interesting. I think obviously, I guess what I can say is the body's a good place to start. I think you got to hit it from both ends, and you got to hit it from every angle. But realistically, in our evolutionary timeline, the mind is still quite young, and we're still trying to understand it. Whereas the body goes back a lot further. It's a lot older, and I believe that there's so much intelligence within this body of ours. And if we learn to listen to the body, and if we learn to create a good flow of energy in the body and create a really vital energy system within the body, then that helps the mind to function better. If we're going ham trying to figure out the mind, but we're dysregulated and we're tense and in pain, it's going to be really fucking hard. But I believe learning about your body, connecting in with your body, understanding it and helping it to feel more comfortable and more vital and more regulated, that creates such a beautiful foundation to do all the other exploring. You've got more energy to do more exploring. You feel more calm to do more exploring. So for me, it's interesting the way it's worked out. Coming from a physiotherapy background, and then, working on understanding the mind a little bit more in time, and then understanding spirituality a little bit more in time. But it seems that for me, the foundation is the body, and I like that.
Yeah.
It makes sense for me.
We're all biased.
Yeah,
I'm biased
we're all
towards the mind
biased.
because I've
Of
done
course,
so. But
of course.
it's
But
so
you
good.
can't.
Have fun with that.
They're all so important. Mind, body, spirit, and we've got to be hitting it through
Mm.
all of those ones. And if there's parts of you, if you've got that's where with the men's work stuff, I like going into the archetypes a little bit, because there's a lot of men that have the warrior online, vital body, but then they haven't done the work with the mind, and the magicians offline and the lovers offline. They can't communicate and connect very well. So that's another system that's really cool for exploring how we can be in balance and a little bit more. It's quite
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I've read King Warrior Magician
You've read
Lover.
it.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
man. So
That's
cool. Hey.
such a good book.
Yeah, nice.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna talk about oh yeah, have you heard do you know Boris Walter?
I know. I've heard the name.
He's
Who's
been on
Boris?
Hard Yarns multiple times.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So he's
He
been on
connects with yeah.
he's been on my show 3 times
Was it
and
awesome?
yeah, it's sick. He's so good. And it's
Yeah,
like
cool.
just the like past life stuff. And I've
Yeah.
done a hypnotherapy session with him and like just so good, like that world, the spiritual world. Like I was very shut off to that. I don't even think like you're intentionally shut off from spirituality. Like I think there's a lot of people have this spiritual ego
Mm.
in I think we're all spiritual. It's just like how much have we turned that dial down because we're identified with the material world.
Well, that's right, and I think like my and I want to hit Boris up actually because
Yeah.
I'm ready to open up that dimension a little bit more. My partner Em has been connecting with someone that's been taking her through. It's really blown her
Mm.
mind and been really helpful. So I feel like I'm going to hit up Boris. I feel like a lot of that is like where you've come from. You know, my parents were very grounded, uh, more on the mainstream side of things, and so I just didn't grow up getting exposure to that other world where other people, their parents were way more down that journey, and so they were getting exposed to it from a younger age. So I think it's not that it's shut off. We just haven't had the exposure
Mm,
to it as
exactly.
much, and I think that's all that it is. But to think that there's not other things happening beyond what we can feel and perceive in this experience, I think you're missing out on
Yeah.
the whole thing. Yeah,
Eh,
no, that's cool. I
That's
want to catch up with
I've
Boris.
been
Eh?
sent from him to tell you this message.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
I
I'll hit you up, Boris.
don't you
Keen.
think there's this like there's like synchronicities
Yeah.
like some, but there's also like there's this other element like Branchy came on and told me about it, whereas like Boris said something to him, but he said it one episode, he didn't hear it, like didn't register it, and then he said it the next episode and it like light bulb moment, and it's
Oh,
like
okay.
you don't hear,
Yeah,
you hear what you're ready to hear
that's right. Yeah,
and you
that's
interpret.
classic.
It's
Yeah,
so crazy. I find, yeah, it's just
you can only handle so much information. You know,
mm,
there's so much going on, but the brain will only, it's fairly keeping with that narrow vision because there's just too much to take in at all points in
I
time.
know.
It's interesting, isn't
That's why I find like from what I've done from my experience, probably the best thing that I've done is just hit the biggest um or the lowest hanging fruit or like something that's like
it? Yeah,
tangible.
yeah, yeah,
And instead of being like this perfect vision of like, oh, I've got to solve this issue, this problem, it's like what is causing me the most distress? Usually that domino.
yeah.
It's also quite transferable. I find the relationship to yourself
Mm.
from a spiritual lens is affecting business, relationships. It's
100%,
this,
man.
and
Everything,
so that's why
everything.
I'm like, if you're gonna work on something, work on yourself. It transfers to every area of life.
Agreed, man. Agreed. Yeah.
Anything you want to finish up on? Anything you think we haven't covered that's important to understand mind body, or anything about your work that you think's important?
Oh no, I just keep coming back to the breath. Uh, keep being present as much as possible. Enjoy the journey. Stay curious. Get around good people. I'm just down at Centre Space in North Perth. There's so much good yoga and breath work and beautiful workshops happening there all the time. And we've started up Centre Space Physio there too, which is, I set that up for with the intention of it being a bigger look at the experience and really diving into the mind body spirit connection. It's quiet, it's chill, there's natural light there and plants around, and it's a beautiful place of healing. So I've got Darch Physio up here as well, which is my baby, a bit more northern suburbs, which is a bit more clinical and sporty, but Centre Space is probably more on that, for that deeper dive down that way. And yeah, got some great retreats later in the year as well. I really do love the retreat setting. I think we're always learning and we're always evolving and we're always growing if you're doing the work. But when you can really dive in for a chunk of time,
Mm.
we do one in winter, our winter retreat. We're coming up to our 5th year, where it's 4 days down in Dwelling Up, and we do so much freaking good work in 4 days. It's crazy. It's kind of yoga meets just hanging out, chilling and laughing, and breath work and jumping in the cold lakes as well. But these kind of talks where it's a bit of group therapy stuff as
Mm.
well. And then me and my brother have a retreat in Sri Lanka later on in the year at this paradise little facility in Sri Lanka. So, yeah, if anyone is at all interested in diving in to that side of it, there's lots of good stuff happening. So, always happy to have fresh faces and old faces coming to these different things as well. You have to come down for spinal flow sometime.
Yeah, okay, I will.
Do it, man.
What was I going to say? Last thing with time, dude. Time's an interesting one. Like the psychological time. Like when someone says, like, "Oh, a 3-4 day retreat," and if you're doing like deep inner work, it can genuinely come out of that, and you're like, "This has been 2 months, a year." You can't even comprehend the time. It's like,
yeah, and I really think of when you simplify it, when you get really present, time slows down. When we're running around, multitasking, distracted, doing heaps of shit, really revved up in our sympathetic, time just fucking goes, and everyone's going, God, time this year went quick. Time's going so quick. When we slow things down, when we simplify things, when we get really present, time starts to slow down. So 3 or 4 days out in nature and community can be very powerful, and can feel like you were there for a good couple of weeks or something like that. I agree. Time's a crazy thing. Yeah.
Cam Watkins, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, bro. It's been really nice, man. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for listening to the episode. I hope you got a ton of value out of our guest today. Now, if you enjoyed that episode, don't forget to click the follow button on Spotify and also click the 3 dots and click rate show. Makes a massive difference in helping grow the show and bring on even bigger guests. And also, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It does make a massive difference. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.